can you remember sort of back in the day a point when you realised Neighbours had become a hit?
Oh, I can.
Yeah, pretty much. What was it for you? I remember
For me, it was being over here on holiday and being asked to do the Terry Wogan show and arriving at Shepherd's Bush, and there were hundreds of people there.
Oh,
I mean, that just blew my mind. And I thought, oh, God.
Oh, see, because I remember...
We're onto a winner here, I thought.
I remember before it hit the UK, when I thought...
Well, you were in it much earlier than I was.
Yeah, but because obviously it became huge here instantly. But before that, and when you say a hit, and in our own country, when we did our first Westfield shopping appearance...
Oh, really?
And they thought a few hundred people were going to turn up and 10,000 turned up. Yeah, that sort of said to me...
Was that before it went to Channel 10?
No, that was after Channel 10. That was when Brian and Judy were in charge of promoting the hell out of it to make it work, and they did.
Oh, yeah. Brian Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, Stefan, you were in the very, very first episode in 1985. So were you surprised originally when that kind of original run, I think it was less than a year it got axed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Were you surprised?
I say 7 at 7, 7 months on Channel 7.
Right.
Yeah.
Was that a surprise?
Mind you, that was only because the channel went into receivership.
I thought it was because I was in the show.
Oh, well, it might have had something to do with it.
Do you know what? Ironically, no, I wasn't surprised because, and this story's been told a million times, I never thought the show was going to last anyway because I thought it was this corny little soap opera that I didn't want to do right at the beginning. And I said, because originally I said, I'll do 3 months, and my agent said, no, they want to sign you for 6, and I went, probably won't last much longer than that anyway. Yeah. How right was I? And then, but I think the biggest surprise was Channel 10 picking it up and running with it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, so that kind of heralded in the kind of Neighbours phenomenon, as you said. I want to ask you both about performing, I think it was 1988 at the Royal Variety.
Yes.
Oh, God, yes.
What was that like? Kind of rock star status?
That
was paparazzi? What do you remember about that time?
It was very exciting being asked.
Yeah.
We weren't mad keen on the sketch.
Talking about corny,
oh dear.
God, it was embarrassing.
It was a bit embarrassing.
But the whole experience was unbelievable.
It was amazing, staying at the Dorchester.
Yeah, and again, talking about what you're talking about, when did we realise that that was one of the times, that was like, wow,
That was when we were serious. On the bus.
Yeah.
And people started to push it. We thought it was going to,
and it was literally, and we could not go anywhere without security.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good having these 2 big security guys everywhere you walk.
And was it kind of extra nerves because you were performing for Her Royal Highness?
Yeah,
it was Queen Mother and Margaret.
Yeah, but you know what relaxed me somewhat was seeing Cliff Richard. Sorry, Sir Cliff Richard
right.
now, and he was sweating. And I've really? Never ever forgotten standing backstage with Cliff Richards. And I remember Smithy said to him, and he said, "You all right, mate?" And he just went, "Oh, I'm so nervous." And I just, Cliff Richard, you can't get nervous. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Brilliant. Now, Anne, I want to ask you, because obviously you're returning for the anniversary episodes, but, I mean, initially when you were asked, were you thinking, how is this going to work? Obviously, dearly
I did,
Madge.
yeah. I mean, excuse me, I'm dead.
You're looking good, though.
Yeah. Also, how do you feel about the storyline, and what's it been like kind of working with Ian Smith again?
It was, I was dubious because I didn't know how they were going to handle it, and I was a little worried, and they had a meeting. They invited us out to the studio, and we had a meeting in the boardroom, and they were so clear about what they were going to do and how they were going to do it that we were both won over immediately and said, this is going to work, because they knew exactly what they were going to do. And the whole thing is ambivalent, because whoever wants to believe she's a ghost can, but you can believe she's an imaginary friend, or a figment of his imagination, or a manifestation of his subconscious, whichever.
Security. His own security.
His own, yeah. Absolutely.
And how do you, imagine how one of those just kind of classic Neighbours couples that have just endured with the fans. I mean, what, for you personally, what do you think it was about those two that worked so well together?
The fact that they were chalk and cheese, I think. They were polar opposites, but they complemented each other. I think that's the reason. And I mean, everybody says to me, why was Madge attracted to Harold? Well, it was because she'd had a glamour boy husband who let her down and played around, and she'd been through the mill. And here was this man that she'd been engaged to when she was 19 or something. And he was solid and stable and would never hurt her. So, of course, she was won over. So it was a perfect relationship for them.
And Stefan, what about your on-screen relationships, many wives? Any particular favourite eras?
Mine's not as easy.
I've lost count. Is it 5 or 6?
Five wives, 8 marriages. 8 weddings, 5 marriages. Different. I think probably the 2 great loves of Paul's life have been Gail and Rebecca. He's had other wives. One of them, Lynn, lasted 3 hours. Literally 3 hours of marriage. I think, again, a similar sort of thing with Rebecca and Paul, similar to what Madge and Harold were, and that as Anne said, the chalk and cheese situation. Whereas Gail and Paul were it was a different side of the coin, in as much as they were very connected because they were very similar. And there was that strength there. I mean, it's like my real wife, who happens to be called Gail as well. It's weird, Gail and I are very similar, and it works that way. It's not a case of opposites attracted. It was a case of, with us, it's similarity attracted. And I think that was the case with Paul and Gail, and I think that was probably the greatest marriage. Even though the Rebecca and Paul one was a very strong one, I think the Gail and Paul, and to this day Paul still says that he would still be married to Gail if he didn't cock it up himself.
Okay. Now I want to ask you about celebrity cameos, because over the years we've seen various pop stars and other actors. Some Brits popped into Neighbours. Is there anyone that you really enjoyed meeting, or anyone you would have liked to have seen cameoed on Neighbours?
There's a number of people I'd like to see. I'd love to see Kevin Spacey in the show.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Oh, God, the list is endless who you'd like to see in the show, yeah.
What's, just to wrap up, kind of
Clive
what's your...
James was in, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Played a postman, didn't he?
Yeah, I wasn't in the show at the time. I wish I had been.
He
I love Clive James.
Well, that was like the Little Britain guys. They came and did. They didn't even. They were like extras. That was the weird thing.
You're joking.
Yeah, they weren't even characters in the show. They came in, and what was really funny was they stole this scene. There was this quite dramatic scene going on between, I think, Steph Scully and somebody else in the foreground.
And they were upstaging them.
And upstaging them blindly because they did the wheelchair, the 2 guys.
They didn't, did they?
And he goes off to the bar,
hysterical.
and in the Scarlet Bar at the time we had the 2 slot machine motorbike rides, and he gets out of the wheelchair and goes on to the thing and then goes back.